Good morning. My name is Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America, in a city called St. Joseph of the Fields, São José dos Campos. And I'm about an hour and a half out of São Paulo and about 4.5 hours away from Rio de Janeiro. And I am inviting you to a brand new project being developed by Abide International. But first, I want to give you an update on Pam and I. Pam and I are both fine. We've been in kind of a isolation for the last 4 months here in Brazil. The situation with the pandemic in Brazil has been very serious, continues to be very serious and very tense. But little by little, we are making progress toward people understanding the damage that could happen to them and the difficulties they could face. So we count on your prayers. Thanks for praying for us. Pam and I have been involved in ministry in Brazil here for over 23 years. We've been in 2 different phases, but we have 23 years invested here in Brazil and working exclusively in Portuguese. Pam came to Brazil in 1953 when she was only 2 years old, and we first came to Brazil in 1979, and we just love the Brazilian people. We love the Brazilian culture, and we are excited about what God is doing here. So that's an update about Bud and Pam. I have an invitation for you, an invitation to be a part of something that we have been doing in Portuguese now for the last 4 months. We have formed an online group that meets every morning at a certain time. And the purpose of that group is to think with Jesus. I've come to the conclusion after many, many years in the ministry working with believers and disciples that we urgently need to teach people to think with Jesus, not just think about Jesus. And we've been doing this with a group online, like I said, for about 4 months. And the audience live in the morning is probably 70, 80 people. But during the day, other people come on and see the video that's there on Facebook. And we've got about 600 or 700 people a day that are thinking together with Jesus. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. We're thinking together about Jesus across the globe. It's really interesting. We have people in Abu Dhabi. We have people in Israel. We have people in Portugal. We have people in Germany. We have people all over thinking with Jesus at the same, or not all of them at the same time, but certainly throughout the day. And we are discovering that there is a real hunger on the part of authentic believers to do more than just think about Jesus, but to think with Jesus. So we have developed an idea. It's called food for thought. Most people in English will know that expression, food for thought, thinking with Jesus. Okay, so let me explain it to you, and I'll give you the time when we start, because we start Monday morning. And I'd love for you to be one of the founding members of this group. I'd like to call it maybe the Jesus Think Tank. And I'd love to invite you to be a founding member of this group. I will be the guide. I will be the Jesus coach. That's how I see myself. I'm like the guide who says, look here, look there, isn't this great? Putting a little historic spin on the thing and helping everybody to enjoy it. I'm not the focus. I'm not the attraction. I'm the guide. I'm the guide. I'm the guy who coaches us along as we think together about Jesus. What does it mean to think with Jesus? Well, there's something about you that I know if you're a believer in Jesus, and that is you have the mind of Christ. You have the mind of Christ. Now, why would God give us the mind of Christ if we don't use it? You know, if you've got a mind, it's to be used. Well, if you've got the mind of Christ, do you know how to think with Christ? Has anybody ever taught you that you can think with Christ? I know people have taught you that you can think about Christ, but do you actually believe that you can think with Christ? It's a life changer if you can get that into your heart. But when will this start? We're going to form the first group, and it's open to everybody. If you're a friend of Jesus or if you're interested in Jesus, it's open to anyone who would like to participate to think with Jesus. I'm in Brazil. I'm in near São Paulo. So our starting time for us is 10 a.m. Monday morning will be our first meeting of Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus. Now, there's on the Abide International Facebook site, there's already an invitation posted that has times so that you can figure out when your time would be. For instance, 10 a.m. in São Paulo is 9 a.m. in Miami. It's 8 a.m. in Houston and in Birmingham, Alabama, for example. It's 6 a.m. in San Francisco. But it's also, because this is going to be, we want a global dialogue among English-speaking people. It's 2 p.m. in London, England, and in the same time in Lisbon, Portugal. It's 4 p.m. in Jerusalem, Israel, and it's, for some reason, a little bit different. It's 6:30 p.m. in New Delhi, India. Okay, now, that answers the who, the what, and the when, the why. Why should you be involved in this little project? There are so many devotional opportunities available to people across the world. That's wonderful. And especially, for instance, in Europe or the United States, there's no lack of resources. What will be different about this is I would like to help you to experience something that I've experienced, that my wife Pam has experienced, that many other people have experienced, and that is the power of thinking with Jesus day by day. Not thinking only about Jesus, but thinking with Jesus. There's an enormous difference. Now, you may want to stay with us for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I would like for you to consider having this get rooted into your own heart and mind, that you can think with Jesus. And since he's a whole lot smarter than all the rest of us, I remember there was a campaign in the United States many years ago that they said a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Wouldn't it be terrible to you to run your whole race here in the world and never have really perceived and understood that you can think with Jesus? Well, I went by many years thinking the only way I could think was with my Bible and maybe a great preaching or reading a book. But I didn't realize with the Holy Spirit's guidance, I can think with Jesus about my day-to-day reality. I can think about everything that's going on, including a pandemic, including problems in our society. We can think with Jesus. So that's why I'm encouraged, right? Because I know this about you if you're a believer in Jesus. Number one, Jesus lives in you. It's Christ in you, the hope of glory. You have the Christian life living in you. I know that about you if you're a believer. Second thing, you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. You have a refuge inside of you, a sanctuary inside of you where you should go to think, to meditate. But I don't know if anybody has ever really led you to understand, because nobody ever did that for me. I learned this through other people, mentors and people over the years, that you can go to the sanctuary not only to think about God, but to think in the presence of God, because the presence of God is in every believer. And I also need to say one more thing I know about you and why I'm inviting you, and that is because you have the mind of Christ. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 16, it says, but we have the mind of Christ. You have the mind of Christ. Let that thought get a hold of you. It'll make an enormous difference. Now, how will we do this? Well, I wrote a book in Portuguese, and it's 365 days devotionals. It took me 15 years to gather these devotional thoughts. I wrote them one devotional a week. And what they were the fruit that came from me thinking with Jesus, not thinking about Jesus, asking him questions. Asking him questions. I asked just like I ask my own mind, why are you doing this? Or what's this about? Or just like I use my own mind to ask questions, make judgments, to calculate what's happening. I do the same thing and I talk with Jesus. And I often do this together with Bible reading, together with meditation, a lot of different ways. But the key is that I put these thoughts on paper. Well, I'm translating this book now into English because my work has been the last 15 years, 100% almost in Portuguese. And so what we will do is I'll come on live. We'll talk a few minutes about what we're going to think about together, and then I'm going to read the devotional in English. And you will know always that what I wrote is not perfect, but it's authentic. It's a fruit of thinking with Jesus. Now, you'll hear me reading it, and maybe some of it will ring true to you. Maybe some of it will seem that connects with you. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is I'm going to encourage you to take that same question that we are discussing, or that same subject, and think with Jesus about it. Now, here's what's really interesting. What happened here in Brazil really caught me by surprise, because this only happened because of the pandemic. It was all of a sudden, I was with a group of people, and this is going to continue on. I was with a group of people who were thinking about Jesus, the same thoughts at the same time, or at least on the same day. And it made me realize that there literally could be a Jesus Think event, or thinking with Jesus, that could grow. I'm not all that concerned about the size, but I'm really concerned about this. Wouldn't it be awesome? I think this way. Wouldn't it be awesome if I was thinking the same questions about Jesus with my brothers and sisters in Israel, my brothers and sisters in Lisbon, in India, in the United States, in Brazil, wherever people speak English, that I would know that there's a community of people that are thinking with Jesus about what I'm thinking about Jesus. And wouldn't it be interesting to, and you'll be able to do this on the Facebook feed if you want to do this, you can put into the comments section your impression, your thought, and when I finish the live, I will read every thought. And if I need to adjust my thinking, maybe you can help me adjust my thinking. There won't be anybody who is smarter than anybody else. We'll all be a group of people that are just wanting to listen to Jesus. So that's the invitation. I have in my heart a goal that I put before the Lord. I'd like to be involved in a group of 32 nations, where people are thinking with Jesus the same thing I'm thinking with Jesus on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying that that will happen, but for whatever reason God has put in my heart, I already know that there are people that are going to participate in the United States and Canada. I know there are people that are going to participate in London, in England, and I know people are going to participate in Portugal. I know some people that are going to participate in Israel. Well, we're off to a decent start. Now, I'm going to keep on thinking with Jesus, but it's been a lot more fun to think with Jesus with this group in Portuguese from all over the world. Now maybe we can do that in English. So you're invited. And if you know someone in another nation, somewhere who speaks English, and who is a believer or they're interested in Jesus, you might want to say, hey, how would you like to think with Jesus with a group that came out of Brazil, that started in Brazil? How would you like to do that for a while? No strings attached. All you have to do is want to think with Jesus, and you're in. Hey, God bless you. When you hear this, either right now, I see that we have a few people listening together, which is awesome. And because we've not used this page on internet very much for live things before, put a little comment in, and we'll get this thing rolling tomorrow morning. I'm excited about doing it, and I look forward to getting to know you better. And who knows, maybe one day when this pandemic ends, if we do get somewhere, I can visit each one of these nations and know that I was thinking with Jesus with my friends during this pandemic. Hey, God bless you. Have a great day. See you tomorrow morning, or not tomorrow morning, Monday morning. I might have said that wrong. Monday morning we start at 10 a.m. Brazil time. I hope you can look in the invitation, get the right time, and we'll see you then. I'm looking forward to see you on Monday. God bless.